So you've never paid a celebrity to endorse the product?
In what regards? So
like a tweet, because I've seen some tweets about celebrity tweeting about they're investing. You should kind of. Like
are you talking about
it.
Dave Portnoy?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. So Dave Portnoy, I've actually never had a conversation with. Now I do appreciate his taste in pizza, and I do use his reviews all the time.
Yeah.
However, I'm not sure. Has he actually done something with pineapple on pizza? Because I'd like to have that conversation. Only cheese? Okay. All right. One bite, only cheese. Yep. So no. So I've never actually had a conversation with Dave Portnoy regarding that. I mean, that video was pretty funny. I will admit it was pretty funny. But no, I haven't had a conversation with Dave Portnoy.
Yeah.
Evasion is an act that deceives by stating a true statement that is irrelevant or leads to a false conclusion. It's like when you're nervous when somebody asks you a question, so you say something that you know to be true in an attempt to satisfy their answer, the real question that's being asked. The reporter's question, have you paid any celebrities to endorse Safemoon? And John gets nervous and deflects to Dave Portnoy, somebody he knows he didn't endorse, in order to answer the question, and says, no, I never had a conversation with Dave Portnoy. But why would John deflect in this case? Probably because there is a lawsuit going on right now that says that this case arises from a scheme among various individuals in the cryptocurrency sector to misleadingly promote and sell the digital asset associated with Safemoon. The lawsuit says that companies' executives collaborating with several celebrity promoters made false or misleading statements to investors about Safemoon through social media advertisements and other promotional activities, and disguised their control over Safemoon and a significant percent of Safemoon tokens that were available for public trading during the class period. The lawsuit claims the misleading promotions and celebrity endorsements were able to artificially increase the interest and in price of the Safemoon tokens during the class period, causing investors to purchase these losing investments at inflated prices. Meanwhile, the company's executives Conroni and Haynes Davies conspired with the promoter defendants to sell their Safemoon tokens to investors for a profit. So the question is, did John know that celebrities were being paid to endorse Safemoon in its early days?
Ben, do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
I'm in here. Yo guys, what's going on? How you doing? Nice to be. You got some sick backgrounds. I'm just calling my basic brand promo here.
In the very first AMA, Ben Phillips talks about how their strategy is for Ben to reach out to his friends that have millions of followers.
But I think, like, in terms of like actually preaching the word of Safemoon out there in a responsible way, it's spreading the news like wildfire. And like, you might spread the news like wildfire to your friends, but like, oh, Safemoon, Safemoon, Safemoon. I can only talk to my friends who just happen to have millions and millions of followers. In a nutshell, which is also a very helpful thing, I can only talk to my friends who just happen to have millions and millions of followers.
This is important because Ben is saying that he can talk to his friends that have millions and millions of followers. This is on March 25th that this happens. If we go to Safemoon Dev's account from where Safemoon was created, we can see that on March 1st, we see the 1 quadrillion supply. We see Safemoon Dev sending 777 trillion to the Safemoon contract, and then we see 223 trillion tokens being burnt. We see that on March 25th, Ben Phillips is sent from Safemoon Dev to Ben Phillips a test of 900 Safemoon and then 352 billion Safemoon on the day that Ben Phillips gets brought on the official core team in the AMA. On March 27th, Jake Paul tweets, "Everyone needs #Safemoon or this will be you." The day before that, Jake Paul was sent from Safemoon Dev 50 billion tokens. Where is Safemoon Dev getting his tokens to pay these celebrities? We'll get to that later in the video. I'll give you a hint, it's the liquidity pool. It should also be noted that Jake Paul and Ben Phillips were friends before this, and only a month before Safemoon's launch, an article came out talking about how YouTube stars Jake Paul and Ben Phillips discussed creating a cryptocurrency as Bitcoin and Dogecoin mania spreads. Jake Paul said, "It might happen, it might not," says Paul, speaking over the phone in an interview alongside Phillips. "It's a big undertaking. Ben and I have discussed it, but definitely no Jake Paul coin. It would have to provide a purpose and be useful. We don't want to create something just to make money." So we have Ben Phillips being hired, saying during the AMA that he's going to be talking to his friends with millions of followers, while only a month before this, Ben Phillips and Jake Paul are on a call and an interview together talking about making cryptocurrencies. So Ben Phillips gets brought on the team and paid 352 billion tokens by Safemoon Dev. The following day, Jake Paul gets paid 50 billion tokens from Safemoon Dev, and Jake Paul starts to promote Safemoon. Now, the price was actually pretty low during this time, so for people who listen to Jake Paul at this point, could have actually made a lot of money. But how do we know that this is Jake Paul's wallet? The reason is that this account that Safemoon Dev sent 50 billion tokens the day before Jake Paul promoted Safemoon cashes out at Jake Paul's publicly known OpenSea account, the OX28DFB, which is Jake Paul's publicly known problem child account, OX28DF. And Jake Paul is widely known as the problem child. Other celebrities around this time were also starting to promote Safemoon, Keemstar, to even Tennille Dashwood. So we have Ben Phillips on his first day on the official team in this AMA saying that he's going to be reaching out to his friends with millions of followers. Do we think that they are just going to be doing that for free? No. Where are they getting the funds to pay them, and who is paying for that out of pocket? Is it the liquidity pool or is it Safemoon Dev? At the time, John and Safemoon Dev shared the position of CEO.
In terms of the roles, so Safemoon Dev and I kind of share the CEO leadership role.
Which paints the picture that the co-CEO is on an AMA with Ben Phillips saying that he's going to be reaching out to his YouTubers, with his co-CEO sending out Safemoon tokens to celebrities to endorse Safemoon and help pump the price. This is the lawsuit that John is having to deal with right now. And he clearly gets very nervous when he's doing an interview and is asked if they were ever paid celebrities to endorse Safemoon.
Like
are you talking about
it.
Dave Portnoy?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
there's
so
a,
Dave Portnoy, I've actually never had a conversation with. Now, I do appreciate his taste in pizza.
Safemoon, shut the fuck up.
If you go to the Safemoon Facebook page on April 2nd of 2021, we see that the account says that there are multiple admins that run this account, so responses and posts may come from different people. Usually it will be from me, the Telegram owner, but there is also Hank, Wyatt, Thomas Smith, and Trevor. The very next day, we have the official Safemoon account run by the admins of Safemoon saying we got Jake Paul, Lil Yachty, Keemstar, Ben Phillips, and Tennille Dashwood, anyone else. So right here we have claiming of Jake Paul, Lil Yachty, Keemstar, Ben Phillips, and Tennille Dashwood by an account that's controlled by the Telegram mod as well as 3 people of the core team. I know that many in the Safemoon army are trying to distance John away from any wrongdoing. I let you use your own rational thinking and come to your own conclusions. But the real question at this point is, where are the funds coming from to pay these celebrities? And we're going to go through this right now. Safemoon Dev starts Safemoon, the 1 quadrillion supply. He sends out the 777 trillion. He then burns 223 trillion tokens. Safemoon Dev then claims his tokens and gets 3 trillion tokens right here. He also makes a purchase for 18 trillion tokens. For only $71, he got 18 trillion tokens. Safemoon Dev then sends 10 billion out to this wallet, and then he sells 23 trillion tokens, putting him at a net zero. Safemoon Dev then does the remove liquidity function, where he pulls liquidity out of the liquidity pool. He pulls 36 trillion tokens out of the liquidity pool and then quickly sells them back. 36 trillion tokens right back into the liquidity pool. Because the price is so low, swap and liquefy is happening at a much faster rate. So within the transaction, you will see the swap and liquefy function happening, and at the very end of the transaction, you'll see the actual transaction that happened, which was him selling the 36 trillion for $390 at this time. Safemoon Dev then purchases 1 trillion tokens. He stakes them, withdraws them, and then buys 15 trillion tokens. Takes what he just bought and then he uses it to add liquidity. That's 17 trillion tokens added into liquidity. Keeping in mind though that he just pulled out 36 trillion and then sold that 36 trillion. Safemoon Dev then begins transferring out tokens of Safemoon to various wallets. The main possibilities of these wallets are cash out wallets, paying for business fees, or paying for other people who are going to be promoting Safemoon. Safemoon Dev then adds 22 trillion tokens in liquidity, which is about what he just bought out of the liquidity pool, but is still less than what he has pulled out of the liquidity pool at this point. Safemoon Dev buys another 7 trillion tokens. At this point, 7 trillion tokens only cost $238 worth of BNB. What we're doing is we're going to work our way all the way up until when the celebrities were being paid so that we can see what funds were being used to pay for the celebrities. Was it Safemoon Dev's pocket being used for it, or was it the liquidity pool from which he took tons of tokens? Safemoon Dev removed liquidity again, this time for 9 trillion tokens. He then sends 1 trillion tokens to the burn address and then makes about 5 other transfers for about 1,366,000,000,000 tokens to various different wallets, one being the burn address again. Safemoon Dev removes liquidity again, this time for 12 trillion tokens. And at this point, we'll start to see that he is not putting it back. And the number comes out to a total of 54 trillion total of what he took out versus what he actually added back in. At this point, Safemoon Dev starts doing transfers to these other wallets. 300 billion, 6 trillion, 1 trillion. Another 6 trillion to the burn address and another 1 trillion to another address. Safemoon Dev is starting to stack up in how much he's pulled out of liquidity at this point. Safemoon Dev removes liquidity again for 4 trillion tokens. Safemoon Dev sends out 100 billion to another address and then 10 trillion once again to the burn wallet. Safemoon Dev removes once again 5 trillion tokens from liquidity. He transfers about 188 billion out to various wallets and then immediately takes out another 5 trillion tokens. This is leading up into the celebrities being paid. 10 trillion tokens gets burnt. Safemoon Dev then sends out another 340 billion tokens to various addresses. Safemoon Dev then starts pulling out even more liquidity. 5 trillion tokens, 3 trillion tokens, 2 trillion tokens. He sends another 5 trillion to the burn wallet. Safemoon Dev pulls out another 3 trillion out of the liquidity, and then his transfers start to get a little bit smaller. He once again pulls out a little over 2 more trillion tokens. Safemoon Dev then sends 1 trillion to the burn address and then sends 1 trillion to this address. Safemoon Dev pulls out 4 trillion in liquidity, sends 10 trillion to the burn address, pulls out 5 trillion, he pulls out another 5 trillion. He's sending these to different addresses as well as the burn wallet for 10 trillion. He pulls out another 10 trillion tokens, sends 5 trillion to the burn address, pulls out another 3 trillion tokens, pulls out another 2.5 trillion tokens, sends 1 trillion to the burn address, and then sends another trillion to this address. The amount that he's pulling out is far greater than the amount that he's putting back in, of 850 billion, 731 billion, and he also stops buying Safemoon at this point. So at this point, and I recommend you guys to do your own research to go and add these numbers up yourself, by the point that we've gotten here, what Safemoon Dev has is what he's pulled from liquidity. And these are the funds from what I can see when I look at the blockchain that is being used to pay Ben Phillips 352 billion, Jake Paul 50 billion, Ben Phillips 9 billion tokens. Now, if you look at these tokens, you can see that he is selling like crazy during the times that he is there. These are during all his tweets about irresponsible whales to get hit by buses and how reckless they are. And that's what the goal of all of this is to get down to the true picture of what happened to Safemoon and the negative impacts that came from celebrity endorsements, from paying Ben Phillips, from pulling from the liquidity, from selling our liquidity. So what was intended to keep our price stable was actually taken from the liquidity pool, which was meant for our stability in the price in the version 1 pancake swap. It should have just been migrated and the price would not have dropped as much. And then they would use that to seed exchanges and for the Bitmart deal that they were making millions upon millions of dollars of Tether going to the Devil wallet, which was connected to John's Moondog NFT that he claims to name Captain Hodl at the recommendation of Ben Phillips, and that John also used this wallet to buy the Stonks token, trying to become one of the largest whales in that token with the Gabe wallet. And both the Gabe and Devil wallet off-ramp into the same Kraken account for around $19 to $20 million of Tether, from which we know that at least $1 million has been used on a house, because we see the money being pulled out days before the house is bought. And that's only what we can confirm of what the money has been spent on. So around this time, many celebrities are being paid. So many of these outs could possibly be connected to different celebrities. I know that right now the official ones we have are Ben Phillips and Jake Paul. But we do have the Facebook account saying that they got Jake Paul, Lil Yachty, Keemstar, Ben Phillips, and Tennille Dashwood. Based on my own perspective, it's safe to assume that saying we got them at this point is saying that we have basically paid them as a celebrity endorsement to promote Safemoon, of which we have confirmed Keemstar and Jake Paul. My question then at this point is, how would the CEO, John Caroni, at this time not know that celebrities were being paid to endorse Safemoon? While the Safemoon account ran by Thomas Hank Rostick and the Telegram mod are saying that they have got them, while Safemoon Dev is sending them literal tokens, did John Caroni, who is the CEO of his own project, never look at the own blockchain to see Kyle using the remove liquidity function at a excessive amount, and to see that Ben Phillips was being sent tons of tokens of which he was then selling on the Safemoon army, as well as Jake Paul being sent these tokens? I don't think that John thought that Ben Phillips was reaching out to his friends and saying, hey, will you guys promote Safemoon for free? No, clearly John would have had to have known that celebrities don't do things for free and that it's going to cost in order to get these huge names like Jake Paul to promote Safemoon. And if you want to play that John is an absolute moron that has no idea what is going on with this project, you can do that if that's what you want to do. I also want to go even further to say that I also believe that based on what the blockchain evidence is showing, that it is likely that John knew that Safemoon Dev had been pulling from the LP and that these are the funds that were being used to pay these celebrities. Jake Paul, Ben Phillips, and other ones that have yet to be confirmed through these transactions. The story goes on, and other wallets from this point on, Safemoon Dev doesn't make any purchases. He also doesn't put any tokens back into the liquidity. He only pulls from liquidity and sends it out to various addresses. And it was on April 5th that Ben Phillips was sent 4 trillion tokens. If we look at the price chart for Safemoon around this time, it was right around this time that celebrities started talking about it. And it was right around in April that they started getting their payments and talking about it, these bigger celebrities. Now, it was on the 21st right here, if you see this little dip, Keemstar came out and said that they did a bad interview where Thomas was walking around and looking at cars during the live AMA, and they got a lot of heat for it, that Keemstar claimed that he was going to sell. So Keemstar and others actually sold during this time, but the celebrity endorsements continued into what eventually became these massive pumps in the price. But once again, the main concern is, what is the effect of having all these celebrities who are themselves selling during these times? What are the effects of the dev team selling during this time? What's the effect of pulling the liquidity during this time from Safemoon to send to Bitmart and receiving over $20 million in Tether coming from our liquidity that we paid for, which is what was promised to be locked and to not be used. It wasn't until later on that they had announced that the liquidity was going to be used for purposes, but that they would let us know. So many people will say they don't owe you any explanation. Okay, well, they literally told us they would if they used the liquidity. They said, we will tell you. And there is them owing us an explanation by their own word. Only 2 pages left. If we continue through Safemoon Dev's final transactions, we do see a lot of various wallets getting tons of tokens in the hundreds of billions. So I actually did a video on Safemoon Dev's last accounts. Safemoon Dev started posting and saying it's too much effort to save a name. It's far easier to save an idea. This was on September 18th. And Safemoon Dev's last transactions, we see him sending out trillions of tokens. This was towards the end of last year, and what he does with these transactions is sell. Now, this wallet would get 1 trillion tokens, and then it would sell in the 45 billions. These sells range from $35,000 to $40,000 per each sell of 45 billion tokens during the time. Each wallet was a new wallet, and that was the only interactions that it had. People could make a claim that he was sending these tokens to different people and telling them you can only sell this in 45 billion amounts. I personally think it's more likely that these were his own wallets that he was using to cash out. And while I was making that video on the 18th, Safemoon Dev deleted his account, his Twitter account, and disappeared from the earth. But each one of these transactions that are sent out are being sold. If we pull it up, we see that they all sell in the exact same amounts, which leads my personal conclusion to be that during this time last year, Safemoon Dev was selling in massive amounts, millions of dollars of Safemoon on the Safemoon army that were buying the dips during these times. The interviewer's questions was, have we paid celebrities to endorse Safemoon? John Caroni then answers a different question, which is, have you ever talked to Dave Portnoy? And gets nervous and talks about pineapple on pizza, which is something that John Caroni hates. Why would you want want to have a conversation with Dave Portnoy about pineapple on pizza when you absolutely hate pineapple on pizza, unless you're nervously trying to get away from a question that was just asked of you so much to the point that you're willing to talk about something you hate as if it's a conversation you would actually be interested in having. And what we see from that point is either that John is so irresponsible that he doesn't know what's happening with his own blockchain and didn't look to see what transactions were happening or ask where the funds were coming from. John claims that Safemoon Dev paid for his own tokens. If we combine the liquidity pool being sold to exchanges and then the profits going to the developers instead of to the holders with all these actions, it starts to paint a picture of who actually destroyed Safemoon. Let me know what you guys' thoughts are down in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this content. I'll probably be looking further at these sells and trying to find exactly where these sells that we can confirm happened on the charts and the times that the Bitmart LP was being sold to get a better and clearer picture of the downward pressure that came from the results of paid celebrities, the team selling, and the liquidity pool selling. I'll see you guys in the next video.